Hello, good day, televiewers. You're welcome to this special edition of Prime Hour Live on a Sunday. We're supposed to kickstart another program called House of Commons today, but because of some technical issues, we are unable to begin the program. So we do a special edition of Prime Hour on this Sunday with our panelists. We were supposed to start, of course, at 12 o'clock. So because of the technical issues, we are starting almost 19 minutes late. We hope that we are going to catch up with what we had to discuss for today with our panelists, who for the most part are from out of Douala, where we are broadcasting from. We are in the company of Tilarus Atia. He is the Boya branch president of the Cameroon English-speaking journalist association called Kamasej. He equally is the Secretary General of the Southwest chapter of the Cameroon Journalists Trade Union. He usually, in the past, served as the desk editor of the Sun newspaper. He is a CMF member of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon.
Sure. Fishers of Men.
Okay, Fishers of Men. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Leo. It's a privilege for me to see gray hair on the panel. I think we are going to exchange our views on very topical issues in the country. I just to see this opportunity to wish a happy birthday to Mancho BBC, who is detained at the Nkonengi Central Prison. He clocks 35 today. He was born on the 18th of August, 1984. I want to salute his courage. It's not easy to stay in detention even for an hour. And also to salute his call for school resumption. Like he said, in Dambana sense, there's no point keeping children out of school when the struggle in itself does not concern the innocent children. Okay.
You followed the brouhaha between the SDF chair and the chief of Leonard village. What reading did you make out of that exchange?
Well, like I've always said, Frunzi is pap that has turned cold, and it can be consumed through the nostrils. I think that the chief of Leonard village, Matthias Motia, was simply seeking attention. Unfortunately for him, Frunzi is that kind of person who does not give such prominence to unknown quantities. Even his peers, I'm sure that after what happened in June, when Frunzi visited Limbe and the paramount chief-elect of Limbe gave him a symbolic key to the city of Limbe, the events surrounding it might have prompted the chief of Livanda to also do a similar thing to attract sympathy from his colleagues, the chiefs of the group under the Limbe Chiefs Conference. But then we saw the president of the Limbe Chiefs Conference, Chief Nziko Foundation of Mevio Village, distancing himself from the utterances of Chief Motia of Livanda, saying that the Chiefs Conference sees nothing wrong with Frunzi visiting a bereaved family, that 3 persons of the family die from food poisoning, 8 others are in hospital. It's enough reason for anybody who thinks that they have Cameroon at heart, that they represent the will of the people, to visit this kind of family and console them and comfort them and support them in such trying moments. But for a chief who might not have even gone there to condole with this family, to console them, to comfort them, and to wish a speedy recovery for the sick, to make such utterances, I think that it defeats the purpose of chieftaincy, one that is revered, coveted, that is the will of the people, that is like the god, somebody who plays the link between the gods and the population, that he saw Frunzi in that light is a very terrible thing. And to say that chiefs are trying to politicize their stools is also very regrettable, because a chief is supposed to welcome anybody and everybody. And just like Christianity, whether the subjects are Christians or Muslims or whatever, the chief is not supposed to discriminate among its subjects. And when the constitution of the country, the preamble, states clearly that we shall have the freedom to move in any part of the country as we want to settle in any part of the country as we want to, for a chief to take upon himself to contravene the constitution of the country, I think it's a very terrible thing. In a state of law, things like this should never be condoned. I will not be surprised if litigations are brought against him in no distant future.
Okay. We equally are in the company of Fabrice Leonard. He's the communications director of the Popular Action Party. He is coming all the way from Yaoundé. He left Yaoundé this morning. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Leo. Thank you very much. I want to first of all thank my fellow Cameroonians out there who are struggling to see us pass through this tough moment in the life cycle of our country, to greet all our viewers of My TV, Prime TV, and the special edition of Prime R, and to also salute my co-panelists, who we have really made some efforts to come here so that we can discuss issues and propose solutions to problems affecting our country. It's my pleasure and honor to be part of this noble program.
Okay. What caught your attention in the news this week?
Well, several issues, among which includes the electricity blackout in Yaoundé, and also the government's continuous intimidation of the population. You see, it is really a pity that the capital city of a country like Cameroon in the 21st century will be facing electricity blackout, and then the national corporation, which is supposed to be a monopoly, comes out to give a very long time, 6 months. What about the commodities of citizens? What about businesses of citizens? And then you see the government comes in a very pretentious and hypocritical way as usual, as if they are really going to carry some genuine sanctions to the
But how do we explain the fact that the government comes out to say we give in 2 weeks to reestablish everything?
7 days.
7 days, and then you say no, we need 6 months.
Well, that's why I said there is, first of all, lack of control at the level of the ministry under which the corporation belongs, and secondly, the government has failed to get hold of its own corporations that are delivering public goods to its citizens, because electricity is basic necessity, which we are not supposed to joke with it. So coming out with such confusion only reveals that the government has failed and they are incompetent to manage issues that really affect the people. And it is regrettable. We only call on them that at this point in time, the best thing for them to do is to relinquish power. Okay,
we equally are in the company of Suleiman Mohammed. He is the SDF Kumba 2 electoral district. He equally left Kumba, all the way from Kumba, to be part of this program with us today. Good day and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kum. Pleasure to be here. I want to call on our favorite listener outside there. The hour has come on Prime Hour to dilute some of the contentious issues affecting our society and our country.
That's Kumba.
No, Kumba is calm. Kumba is calm. For now, is calm.
The green city.
The green city of Kumba is calm.
What main news this week there?
Yeah,
we saw videos of one of the DEOs, the lady DEO of Kumba 2.
Kumba 3.
Kumba 3, who went, she's organizing a football competition.
Yeah, they used to organize football competition to rally support for people to go back to school. You saving my DEO of Kumba 2. I had a meeting with him yesterday. He was canvassing for parents to let their children go back to school. So even, the whole town, the administrators are up and doing. They are trying to galvanize the basis to make sure that at least parents send their children back to school come September 2nd. Let them see the road flooded with students going back to school.
But what is the SDF in Kumba saying?
No, the position is clear. You know, in SDF, we believe in the hierarchy of the party. We stand by the position of the party. When the party says this, we stand by it. The party says they support going back to school because school is human right, it's civil liberty. You see, and even UNESCO, an agency of the United Nations, will be annoyed with SDF if SDF refuses to let children go to school because it's human right. You let children go to school. That's the position of SDF. But the circumstances surrounding the situation the atmosphere is not conducive for smooth academic undertaking. The atmosphere is not conducive for people to go back to school. Our premises are not secured, our campuses are not secured, and therefore that's the fear of everybody. So what contingency plan has the government put in place to check the insecurity that everybody is afraid of?
Okay, we are going to kickstart our discussions with the Kumbo Bishops outing on the 15th of August with this video that we got all the way from Kumbo, Way Division.
Once more, on behalf of God, on behalf of the church, on behalf of Mama Maria, comforter of the afflicted, to speak to you on behalf of the voiceless and the suffering people of Kumbo. During this crisis, Kumbo has had its fair share of suffering. We have seen innocent people brutally killed. A lot of people have lost their homes and property. Violence and all forms of torture and cruelty have become so common that we are beginning to consider it normal to kill, to torture, to extort, and to ask for ransom. Kumbo has been deserted, and people of all ranks and professions have fled Kumbo and are seeking safety in Yaoundé, in Douala, in Bafoussam, in Banyo, and the rest of the places. Brothers and sisters, we continue to hear gruesome stories of people kidnapped or arrested, tortured, and asked to pay huge ransoms before they are released. And the worst hit has been our children who have been deprived of school for 3 years, and there is no guarantee that they can return to school soon. I am fully aware that anyone who talks about these things stands the risk of being kidnapped or even killed. I am not sure that even myself talking now, I'm safe. I'm not sure. Today, under the protection of Mary, our mother, and on her feast day, on behalf of the Catholic Church, on behalf of our Holy Father, Pope Francis, I call on all who have lost a sense of the sacredness of life, on all who have no chance, who don't want to give the chance to the young and poor and helpless children to go back to school. I call on you all to drop your weapons of hatred, to stop all forms of abuse that dehumanize our people. Violence, as we know, only begets violence. Hatred, as we know, only begets more hatred. Human life remains sacred, and no one, no matter what, has a right to take away another person's life or to torture. And brothers and sisters, from this pulpit, I want to say very clearly, it is a crime against humanity to deny our children a right to go to school in the name of a struggle, no matter how legitimate our case may be. Our children cannot go to school in Kumbo, and those who escape to other towns are mercilessly exploited. Is it okay for us, the people of Kumbo, for our children to leave Kumbo and pay 250,000 francs, as I know they do, as day students in Yaoundé, or 600,000 francs as boarders in Douala, when with the same amount you can pay 5 to 10 children in Kumbo? Is it okay? And we accept it, and it's okay, and we allow it? I consider this exploitation. This exploitation must stop. And only we can make this happen. Yes, there are people in this church, even I won't be surprised, who are determined that no school will be open this year in Kumbo. And I dare say, history will judge you for sacrificing the future of our children for the struggle. when we could have other options that we can use to make our points. Don't forget what I've said. Quote me right. Brothers and sisters, today on this feast,
that was the Bishop of Kumbo on the occasion of the celebration of the Assumption of the Mother of Jesus Mary, body and soul to heaven. Hilarious. We begin looking at dissecting that outing by the Bishop. Apt, very timely.
Very timely. I pray that his peers are going to follow suit. You want to remember that bishops, the priests, are the ones who magnify the crisis to where it is because of the letter they wrote to the head of state, and that was made an open letter. They captured the grievances of Anglophones, the sticky issues that Anglophones have been complaining about for the last 5 decades plus. And it is that letter that was being used now to educate the Anglophone at home and the diaspora. And today, the bishops who seemingly were at the forefront of the events in the early days have been kidnapped or arrested, whichever one they want to use. Priests have been taken hostage and all of that. And it gets difficult. I think it's time for us to come back to our senses. I quoted Mancho BBC a while ago when he said Ndambana sense that the initial reason why the crisis or the struggle or whatever started was because Anglophones needed something better. They needed a better life. They needed to be treated as equals in a union of equals. And because that was not done, some people felt that there was need to stage a protest. But if today the people the struggle was supposed to make their lives better are suffering more, and then something is wrong somewhere, there's need for a review. And the bishop has put it clearly, and that it is exploitation, that the people are being exploited on every front, whether education-wise, whether business-wise, even their livelihoods, their freedoms have been taken from them by the people who are supposed to be protecting them in the first place. And if this struggle is backed and based on international law, because international law provides for self-determination, internal self-determination and external self-determination. Whichever one they have chosen, whether internal or external, it is backed by international law. And the right to education is also backed by international law. So we cannot use international law to push a cause. And at the same time, we violate other international instruments that forbid, the Geneva Conventions forbid that armed men put civilians in danger when there is an armed struggle or when there is a war. And if civilians are being kidnapped, if they are being killed, if they are being arrested when they should not be arrested, then something is wrong somewhere. Then somebody is not respecting the laid down conventions, laid down provisions of international law that they claim to adhere to. So the bishop could not have better put it. I think the time is right. The time is now, and that history is going to judge whoever has already got their own education, whoever has taken their child or their children for education in some other place, and they think that the children of the poor should not go to school. Because at the end of the day, it is the poor who are hardest hit. Those who are rich have either moved completely with their wives and children, they've moved to safer locations, they've put their children in better schools, and they can afford, they can live their lives, they can drive from Douala or some other place and work in the conflict zones and go back. But those who are poor, those who are in the enclaves, those who are in the suburbs, the only way the son of a palm wine tapper in the village can dine with the son of the GO or the governor is when they meet at school. And the only way the son of the palm wine tapper can be uplifted in society is when they go to school. That's when they can also aspire to occupy office. But if they stay without going to school, without having education, then they will be marginalized more, because the children of the oppressor, they are going to school, they are getting certificates, and tomorrow when you would have died and your child will be left, the oppression will continue. So if the children stay at home and they don't go to school, we are simply breeding the chain and the cycle of oppression to continue even long after we would have died.
Okay, the bishop says he's speaking on behalf of the voiceless and suffering people of Kumbo. Do you think that the voices of those who are actually suffering are being drowned and not given a listening ear this year?
Exactly. I think I like the words that the bishop used. Life is sacred. On no occasion should human lives be taken away without following due process of law. Which means...
Is there a law that actually blesses the taking of life?
No. In the process of justice.
Okay.
Yes. Every human life is precious and priceless. And I think the English-speaking community, the Anglophone community, Northwest and Southwest, have suffered a lot. And the bishop, I salute his courage, and I would like to encourage, because you see, the church plays a very vital role in times of crisis in every community. But the situation in our country proved to be otherwise, where religious men, leaders, say nothing. And I think the bishop's pronouncements in a big day like that, it is a bold step to encourage other people to do same. And looking at the community in question, Kumbo has suffered a lot as far as the crisis. Look at the geographical location of Kumbo, the ability of students, children, the poor farmers there, the peasant farmers there, to move to Bamenda Center or even to the other regions of the country. It is really difficult. You see how life is difficult, all in the name of some struggle that is benefiting a certain group of people. I like what my colleague here say about the struggle separating and causing, it might even cause class struggle in the future. Because all those who are able to have minimum amount of money that can permit their children to go and school in the French zones are doing it. The politicians abroad, surely their children are going to school. Even the leaders in the country, their children are schooling. But now, the consequences of this struggle, the larger portion is on the common man, those who are unable to afford the amount required for transportation, the amount required to pay the school fees to move from these war zones to the other area. When we look at the struggle and the school resumption issue, yes, history will hold people accountable for it. What about those people who have refused vehemently to listen to the appeal of the people? Because when we talk of school resumption, really looking at the situation in Kumbo now, how sure are we that on the 2nd of September, those children that will be allowed to go to school will not be kidnapped? Some of them will not be killed. Because us who look at it from the humanitarian perspective, we think that perhaps we should not give room or even reduce the ability of losing more lives of innocent children, or even torture, cutting of fingers. Those type of things is terrible and dehumanizing to see. So that is where I always ask the question: is the condition favorable? Is the environment enabling?
Okay, your issue has to do with the environment, enabling environment for the students to effectively go back to school. He says, the bishop, I'm sure you followed him, he says that innocent people are brutally killed, there's loss of property, they've lost their houses, violence of all forms and all forms of cruelty have become the order of the day, so common. You live in Kumba, that is in the heart of these conflicts.
Yeah.
Is this what you people live out there?
Yeah. First of all, I have to thank the bishop for taking the courage and the tenacity to come out on Assumption Day, a day that is regarded by the Catholics as a very important day in their history, in the historical calendar, to air out these grievances. We should know that this thing started with the consortium. The consortium was banned by Rene Emmanuel Sadi when he was Minister of the Decentralization.
Yeah.
That was a very grievous mistake he did. When he banned the consortium, Justice Ayapola Abine, Agobala, and Dr. Fontaine came with their philosophy of federalism. They were arrested, detained, and later released. Then Seseko Ayoktabi came out with his secession and separation, and this exacerbated the situation. That brought us to this ugly situation we're in now. I think, to cut a long story short, the bishop said nobody has the monopoly of violence. And it is true. because violence can be unleashed in several ways. That is why the military, with all their experience, with all their modern weapons, with all their
trainings
and what have you, we facing people with damn guns, inexperienced people who have no good training, often that have failed to contain them, because those boys are using their own way to unleash their own violence, which has brought us to this ugly situation we are in today. So you see, what he said, there's killing, there's kidnapping, there's manslaughter.
My question to you is that what you people are living in Kumba?
Yes. Even 2 Hausa boys that were cut off in Kumba. Cut off. I said they separated the body with the head. They call them black legs. But only to find out that they are not black legs. You see, so the arson being made on civilian, innocent civilian, coupled with what they mean. In fact, they think it's both sides. Both sides of the eyes cannot go scot-free. They are going to be held responsible. And the bishop, everybody see the church as the last hope of the common man, the voice of the voiceless. And that is why the bishop has come out in a strong voice to condemn what is going on in the northwest and southwest region. And as far as school is concerned, he is correct. Look, even when Angola was in civil war, Savimbi with Agostino Neto, school was going on. In Mozambique, Samora Machel, Antonio de la Cama, school was going on. Look in South Africa, during Pig Bota and Peter Bota, the black refused to go to school. Now the thing has changed. Now the manpower is not there, the resources is not there, they are attacking foreigners. The foreigners are taking away their jobs because they did not go to school. So that's the handicap of not going to school. So I think if somebody say his child will not go to school, tomorrow even a night watchman, you will not have that certificate to go and do night watchman. So I think, in my own opinion, to go to school is good. But again, I see again, school is good. School is human resource. But again, at the same time, let them put conducive atmosphere that somebody's child cannot go to school and come as a cadaver. Somebody's child cannot go to school and come back wounded. Parents have been threatening to be attacked. Teachers have been threatening to attack. So where do we stand? We're in a quagmire. And the government has not told us their position. What position have they taken in order to maintain security in the school so that though they can say is classified information, is secretive. But at the same time, I think the fear that parents have is the security of the children, the parents, and the teachers.
Okay, but he raised the concern that love is so gone from our community, where that to the extent that killings have become the norm of the norms around our communities in the northwest and southwest region. People kill without
people kill with impunity. People kill with impunity because now the thing has come. There's hatred. There's allegation come false and misleading allegation against people. People have taken it now to settle their scores with people, and now they're killing people. They have even for some people, some of the guys have even forgotten the cause of the struggle. They have gone astray. They have gone the other way around, settling scores, families settling scores. So I think what the bishop is saying, the killing has reached an unprecedented proportion that at least God intervention, divine intervention is needed to come into this matter if we want to solve this thing. And let our leaders, let them not take this struggle as a yardstick or parameter to enrich themselves, to make money out of it, because it's a dangerous precedent. Because God, they will answer it one day. God will definitely answer.
Yeah, I'm sure the bishop said that everybody was going to render accounts to God, or that history was going to judge them all. Tilarus Atia, the bishop said it's become normal to kill, to extort, to kidnap, and to torture. You see, and he goes further to describe the sad reality of a deserted Kumbu town, very reflective of the other villages and towns across the two regions.
Well, I think that for somebody who lives in the northwest and southwest, the bishop was only reminding them of the pain they have to go through on a daily basis. The days when they have to go to hospital where they cannot move because there are no taxis, because the nurses and medics are too scared to be around. For example, at the Kumba District Hospital, we were there yesterday with the UN humanitarian coordinator for Cameroon. And the medics are saying that after the incident where the hospital, some portions of the hospital was burnt, some of the doctors have fled, experts. The surgeon of the hospital, for example, is running now without a surgeon. because after the incident, he found out there was no theater immediately after, and so there was no work for him to do, and he left. So it means that the population has been deprived of healthcare. Whoever has a need for an operation, whether it's a woman who is pregnant and needs to have a cesarean section and all of that, they may have such services under difficult conditions. So I think that it is ourselves, we are the ones who are suffering more. I'm not sure this so-called oppressor is suffering, is paying the price like we do. We are the ones who have died, we are the ones who have lost our houses, we are the ones who are not going to school. And the oppressor or whoever is enjoying, they are going to school, they are preparing themselves, equipping themselves to come and rule us. Like I said, international law protects self-determination, internal and external. And that same law, he who goes to equity must go with clean hands. So if you are respecting some provisions of that law, you should also respect some other provisions. The provision that protects education, that protects the rights of children, that protects the rights of civilians in times of war, that protects the lives of sick persons. People who are sick should never be attacked. So attacking a hospital by any of the belligerents is a very bad thing. It's something that they should prescribe. It's something that the leadership of the struggle should be able to prescribe. I'm not sure the leadership of the struggle, they have their children at home. If they do, then we should be able to see and be sure that their children are at home. We should also stay at home. Like in many other scenarios of war or conflict, like we saw in South Sudan, it could take in the next 50 years. Assuming that life expectancy in Cameroon is 49, it means most of those who are clamoring for whatever they want may not live to see it happen. And if they cannot live to see it happen, it means their children will be the ones to come. And these children are the ones who are not going to school today, who are not having education, who are not preparing themselves, who are not equipping themselves. And they will come and they will continue with the cycle of violence because they may not be able to read the history, to understand what the grievances were and where their parents have stopped and how they should continue. We have a scenario in South Sudan that is a failed state today, I'm sorry to say. But then anybody who looks at statehood and the trappings of a stable state will see that South Sudan is not a state, that is not a dream state that many people fought for. With 13 federal states and all of those things, nothing is working. Things are not working the way the population would have expected it to work. So we should prepare ourselves, have education. In fact, education is the only thing nobody can take from you. When you go to school and you are knowledgeable, you can interpret, you can make decisions that are favorable to the society. I'm not sure if the Geneva Convention says that civilians should never be targets. Then people go around, you kidnap civilians. You kidnap school-going children and all of those things. I think these are things that we should prescribe. These are things that no sane person will want to condone with. And also, Leo, in times of conflict, somebody, even if you are a fighter, an armed fighter, if you are captured, you should never be killed. You should be held as a prisoner of war. These are conventions. These are internationally accepted principles. That somebody who surrenders should not be killed. Somebody who, if, for example, you are an armed combatant and you are traveling maybe to go to hospital, if you are caught, they should simply take you to hospital and treat you, and they keep you in custody. You should never be killed. So we should not go to equity with dirty hands and expect something good from it.
Okay, Fabrice, was it, according to the bishop and his children, he says that there is just no justification to keep these children at home, using them as a chip, a political chip to attain political objectives, which to him has nothing to do with the struggle. That is, the future, the destiny of the children should be taken away from whatever is being fought for.
It is regrettable that the
bishop said so?
No, okay. Not regrettable that the bishop said so. I say it's regrettable that the political atmosphere of our country is very complex, and the struggle originated partly from the Francophonized education system, which was also one of the points that made the fighters or the pro-Amba fighters to use as a tool up till today in order not to accept school resumption. You see, when we are making analysis, we should look at both sides of the coin. I like to look at both sides of the coin because those holding on to no school resumption thinks that the same education system that provides certificates to children that they are unable to find anything to do with it. They don't have any competence, they don't have any skill, and which is the cause of misery, poverty, and underdevelopment that we're experiencing in the country today, which the government has refused to solve. That is the problem, because when they say the government has granted the wishes or some of the wishes, we are not seeing any tangible or concrete effect of any of those things in this present Cameroon society.
Are you answering my question? Or
yes, I am.
Are you justifying why the
I'm not justifying. I'm
okay.
coming.
Okay.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm trying to say that looking at the situation at hand, it is a regrettable thing that children are not going to school. They are supposed to go to school. And if we are campaigning for school resumption, surely the children will go to school under the same school curriculum, which is the what was rejected in 2016 will still be the same thing that will be followed in 2019. We saw the GCE results of 2019. The honored Cameroon GCE results that has now become valueless because, yes, the GCE has now become of no value. I think when I read the writings of Justice Ayapo concerning GCE results, I felt so bad. You can bear with me, Mr. Leo, that the GCE result of 2002, 2010 is no more the same thing with 2019.
Yeah,
why? Those things, please let us not look at solving problems on the top. Let us solve problems from the base. The cause of the struggle that is leading to boycott of schools up to the state that it is have some key points that if those key points were addressed properly, we will not
holding on
we will not know. I am not saying that
the lawyers are the ones who started
Mr. Liu, up to now,
but they are going to the courts.
Schools are going on in the northwest and southwest. It is not a complete shutdown. Bamenda, Boya is having schools. Schools are going on very well in some of those schools. But when we take the case of Kumbo, where the bishop was talking about, it is practically impossible, where 70% of the schools are occupied by the Amber Boys. What is just like my fellow senior man said, what is the government doing to guarantee the taking of those schools that are being occupied by the Amber Boys in order to ensure that children will go to those classrooms? Even the teachers that are here in Douala, Yaoundé, how will they travel to those suburbs where for a teacher to travel from Bamenda to go to maybe Manfe to Wum, the transport has doubled times 5. Not only that, the transport has doubled times 5. The little money you have, you need to settle everybody. You settle the military, you settle the Amber Boys, and your life is not even secured because you are not sure whether you will hold a chalk and come back alive. So these are multiplicity of things that we should look in details. We should not just go and take the caption of school resumption is better. Any rational human being. If I'm not educated, I will not sit there and be talking.
I want to say that we are not going to school for government. Okay. We are not going to school to please government. We are going to school because we need to equip ourselves to be good citizens, to be people who can be helpful to society, to our communities, not for government. The ministers who are in government today have gone to school, they've had their share. Their children are going to school. And we are the ones, the talakawaks, the have-nots, those who are suffering the communities, those who cannot find their way because they cannot read and write. And it is for them. That education is important. And it is not only for government to guarantee the safety of learners. It is for both parties, everybody, the community members, everybody, the armed fighters and every other person across the divide, the soldiers, the non-state armed groups and everybody. It is in our collective interest to ensure that children go to school. So we should de-escalate the violence. There should be a cessation of violence to permit that children can go to school, to make the environment conducive enough for the teachers, for the learners, and for the schools, the school environment. You want to know that most of the schools that are called government schools in the northwest and southwest regions were constructed by parents, by the community. They are community schools because parents are putting their money through PTAs to construct these schools. So it is not proper for us to destroy the things that we toiled so hard to have for our children.
Okay, no, he has to come in.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that the restoration forces, those at ground zero and those at the diaspora, should have a human face a human heart and a make of kindness, in tempering justice with mercy to allow our children go back to school. Because if we say children should go back to school, what about the villages that were burned down in Meme Division?
Exactly.
In nearly all the Bakundu villages in Meme Division have been burned down.
Schools were burned down.
They have been burned down. So where are these people going? How will they start school? Are you only saying that only those in the cities that go to school? What about those in the villages?
If I get you, Mr. Mohammed, because children cannot go to school in, say, in faraway Indian division, schools should not go on?
No, I'm saying that the circumstances of the situation happen to find themselves now. They cannot get conducive academic learning, smooth academic undertaking because of the circumstances they find themselves in.
It's fast. It's impossible.
The schools have been burned down. Some of the schools have been taken like hostages. So how can they go to school? So if they're saying people should go back to school, it's only those at the cities should go back to school. Is that what the government is saying? Secondly, again, what I want to say is that there's no struggle that has stopped school from going. There's no struggle. That's why I'm calling on those guys at the Restoration Forces Ground Zero and the diaspora to know that their own sons and daughters are going to school. Their children are going to school. Why should they allow us to go to school here? Even the lawyers who have joined the strike have started going to the courts. The courts are not open to them. Then why are you refusing children from not going to school? The struggle may continue, but let children go to school. Because it is a human right, it is a civil right, it is incumbent on the children to go to school.
Yeah.
Briefly, because...
Yes. I do think that I always like to be pragmatic and realistic with the situation in our country today. Because when we talk of schools, the backbone of education in Cameroon should be the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Without which education or Anglo-Saxon education in the other regions is just a sham. I am somebody that is still working in the education sector in the French zones, and I regret a lot the things I observe. I regret a lot because the discipline, the authenticity of the Anglo-Saxon education is gone. It's gone. Nothing is being retained again. And then we see that those at the top do not even want to listen to proposals that could help to bring back these things to their normalcy. What should people do? Because in as much as you tell the government is carrying out a campaign on school resumption. Is the government going to provide Operation One Student, One Soldier, or Operation One Teacher, One Soldier? Will the students sleep on their bed with soldiers, and so on and so forth? It is because I think education milieu should have some sort of psychological stability for both the learners and those teaching. When there is, first of all, mutual distrust, fear, and suspicion, where there is no confidence, where nobody is sure of anything. We are talking of 70% out of 100 in the Northwest and Southwest schools. And then we should not go and capitalize in cities where there are military barracks. Because Limbe is good, Boya is good, Bamenda is good. We should think of those people in the suburb, and that's why it is causing class struggle. Because all those people living in the city, that they have a certain amount of money, their children are well going to school. Those people who are unable to send their children to school are really the poor. And if this crisis is not solved from the roots, we go looking for solutions at the top, forgetting the foundation, it will cause another war, maybe even a social war, where there is a certain group of people who has been ignored and they are illiterate. Violence have consumed them. They will tend to continue perpetrating violence even after the struggle.
In the future.
Even if there's
What I'm saying is that even our allies today, they have absconded their divisions. The allies have all run, the politicians have run, the economic operators have run. All those who matters to talk. In fact, they are will be the champion of these people mobilizing people to go to school. Because they are willing to buy some books, some didactic materials to come as a motivation to distribute free for people to use as a show or a start that school year is beginning. All of them, they are hiding in the big cities of Douala and Yaoundé. And who do they expect to start a thing for them? Tomorrow, if things are good, they come back and say, we are some of the soil. This is our place. Man.
Tilaris, you've been taking notes for so long. I don't know whether you buy what has been said by Fabrice and Mohammed.
Not at all. Not at all. To say that it is not in the interest of the elite that we should go to school. It's not in the interest of the those who are in power that we should go to school.
I did not say it's not in the interest of the elite. Because they have abandoned their areas, have escaped, and they are supposed to be the champion of promoting the people to go to school. They are not there. So that's my headache. They're not there.
Who made them your elite?
At the same time,
no, they're the elites. No, we have elites.
Life is more
we have
important.
elites, we have politicians,
who made them politicians?
We have senators, we have parliamentarians, we have economic operators who have absconded. And that's the champion of people to promote to go to school.
It appears that we are not in the same on the same wavelength, because people at one point are saying that government is the one championing for school resumption. And I think that it should not be the case, because it is in our interest that children should go to school.
Yes.
And to say that that children are not safe in school, that the soldiers should protect one child, one soldier, that it is not possible. And that who will the soldier be protecting the child against? Who is going to attack the child in school? Who is going to help the child in school? We should be asking ourselves that question. Why should soldiers secure schools? Has it been the case in the past? What has gone wrong is that something is not right. And that those who are smoking the guns should leave the environment, the school environment. They should stay off. If there is any issue, I'm sure that solutions will come. But then we cannot mortgage the future of the children. If both parties agree that schools should be out of it, hospitals should be out of it, and other environments, houses of worship, churches, mosques should be out of it, as prescribed by international law, then we'll have no problems. We'll not need soldiers. We'll not need government to come out. We'll not need the elite. What the elite for now should be concerning themselves with is to provide the jobs that we need. When we go to school and come out, we should have the jobs. They should provide the schools, a conducive environment for children to sit and study. The curriculum should be tailored in such a way that when the children leave school, they can get jobs, they can create jobs, and they can be helpful to the society. That is what the elite should be concerning themselves with. Because we already, as those who have gone to school, we know the value of education. Every other person out there has gone to school before. And to tell you that when we go to school, we are going to school almost free. Those who go to school, whether in mission schools or in government schools, government is paying part of our school fees because they give subsidies to mission schools, to private schools, and government schools. Government pays these teachers, and we pay about 7,500 francs as school fees in an academic year. So we should be grateful to the state that has helped us this far, and we should not deprive our own children from benefiting from what some of us benefited from. It's not going to make sense. So I think that we should have good faith and leave these children to have the education, to acquire education, and which, if there's any fight, if there's anything that we want, government and the other party, they know how to get government. They know how to get government to the dialogue table. They know how to get government on its testes or whatever, and get the things that they want. To tell you that the lawyers, nobody hears about lawyers again. Nobody hears about lawyers, but lawyers are the ones who started the first protest, the warning strike in October 2016 was by lawyers, the 4-day strike. And later on, it was indefinite. On November 21, teachers joined, 2016. And since then, lawyers have gone back to work. They suspended the strike. They've gone back to work. Things are normal. Government has done a lot of reforms. We have the common law bench at the Supreme Court. We have the common law department at NAM. But then we need to know what government has done in the academic sector that can permit children to go to school peacefully.
Okay. There is no difference from Amber Boys and civilians. So on gun battle, military can't identify the differences and they shoot anybody on the sense. Many people have died. Let's stop pretending. I love the topic. Greetings from Kumba. Pierre-Marie is writing from Kumba. Happy Sunday to all. The Bishop of Kumbo is speaking ex officio. He, as chief shepherd, knows the cry of the people. Education is the best gift we can receive from our parents and the best gift we can give to our children. What is the essence of our struggle? If today we separate who are those who will lead or take any functions, can an illiterate lead? No. We now see the Cameroon in destruction due to the lack of knowledge. No one wins a war but a battle, and in times of war, there are some facilities that goes operational, such as schools and hospitals, but in our case, it's not the same. The bishop spoke his mind, and whatever acts we carry out, history will definitely judge us. Thank you for that message. Okay, good afternoon to you in the studio. I see those supporting the struggle are those benefiting from it, and most of our boys in the bush are just following others without thinking of the impacts behind. And the supporters' children are going to school. And if it works, they will come and be leaders. So it's the fight for the rich. Being educated is the pride of everyone. So if children are educated, it will be our advantage, because no one likes to see a child grown up when he or she cannot write. Okay, when you write, give us your name and where you're writing from. I'm Kebila from Douala. I don't abide to what the bishop said. He is first of all, okay. How do you ask for school resumptions when the environment is still militarized? Shall the military guard those children while in their homes? The DOs and the SDOs who are preaching back to school, why are they guided by the military? This one says, good afternoon, Mr. Kum and the panels. I'm very much happy with the kind of discussions going on now. We really need schools to start back in a conducive and calm atmosphere. Writing from Yaoundé. Sheikh Clovis is writing from Yaoundé. This one says, I'm writing from the southwest region, okay? And says, please, you people should remember that life is the first on human rights agenda, while education is about the 25th. You were itchy to say something. The bishop says that he's calling on both parties to down their guns of hatred, and it's time.
It is very necessary, because Africa is at that stage where we don't need to go back as far back as the 19th century. We are in the 21st century. And I think that this war of self-interest, because I call it war of self-interest, war of self-aggrandizement. Yes, those in the government purporting the war are benefiting a lot from it. The same too, like those in the diaspora, putting injunctions and instructions to the ground zero fighters, they are benefiting a lot from it. Some of the elites and the actors in the country have been endlessly calling for the two to come to an agreement so that they can lay down arms. It's a good initiative. There is no need for us to continue fighting among ourselves when we are destroying a lot of things, because I think the destruction that this war has caused us since 2016, it would take so many decades or even a century to build Cameroon to be what it was supposed to be at this stage if there was no war. So I think the first people to react to this call of gun drop is the government, because as of now, the government is still the government, and the government is the state having the monopoly of the military and all the other resources that comes along with fight. Then the armed separatists are a people that, on the perspective of self-defense, they are also right. But then each party need to rethink again and see that there is no benefit going on fighting, and they really need to drop their gun. Beginning with the government. The government, they want to create an initiative. Because I think that most of the commissions that have been created by the government, I don't know what is always the case, because commissions are created. Commission on disarmament was created. But still, when they create commissions that is supposed to carry out some actions that will be in favor of the population, those actions should be carried out concretely. It should not be propaganda commissions, because most of the commissions that are created by the government are propaganda commissions. When they create them, they go to the TV, pass information, but on the ground, nothing is changing, no actions are being taken. So if those commissions are being created, first of all, the society is not supposed to be made up of army. The society is of police. The police can return to keep peace. Meanwhile, the armies go back to the barracks.
Did the police leave the stage?
And because now it is a mixture of all the armed forces in the northwest and southwest. So the government is the one to first of all take action to withdraw.
Okay,
when they will withdraw those forces, then now we think the separatists will respond. Because as of now, like someone said in a message, the military, the separatists do not have a particular uniform. Yes, and when they perpetrate any act, the military comes there and destroys whatsoever. And it is their right as a military. They are trained for that. And I think that when we link it to school, I always ask a question. Imagine a scenario where an amber boy disguised and wears uniform and goes to a government school
Yeah,
of
but-
about 1,000 students.
These are things that
So
we should,
those are situations that we always need to take into consideration.
Yeah, we should.
It is delicate.
Okay, just to note that greetings to you, Jean-Claude Akenji Fru, who is watching from Yaoundé. We're glad to know that you are following us. It's a brother. For me, Elvis, thank you, brother, very much. We are glad to know that for me you are watching. Wafa Clovis is perfect speaker. I don't know whether the perfect speaker was Fabrice Mohammed or Tilaris Atia. Bonas Kaluji, who should be watching us from Turkey, says, we have all seen people killed by stray bullets, even if the schools are secured. Who will guarantee security of the kids from home to school and school back home? Any joker in the name of parents? Okay. Bonas, we are glad to know you are following us. Boamak says, boss, I love your program. Thank you very much. Yes.
What I was trying to say is that we should not politicize education with the struggle. Education should be independent of the struggle. Then secondly again, if an Amber boy is not killed, an innocent person is killed, or a military guy is killed, Cameroonians are killing Cameroonians because of what? So I think the clergies have spoken, the politicians have spoken, the human rights have spoken, the civil liberty organizations have spoken, the common people have spoken. So what I'm trying to propose before you today is the one. If we want all these things to die a natural death, one, release Ayoseseko. Number two, release all Anglophones detained because of the Anglophone crisis. Three, declare, pardon all those Cameroonians at the diaspora. Let them come back home and meet their families and loved ones. Number four, restore back the consortium, because the consortium sent our children back to school, restore them back. Number five, demilitarize the Northwest and the Southwest. Number six, let Amber Boys declare ceasefire and lay down their arms. And number seven, let's go for genuine dialogue, frank dialogue, objective dialogue, where the gun is level for everybody. These are the contentious issues. If these issues are being looked objectively, they have been given a divine touch, I think all this talk we're talking about school and going back to school will be a non-starter.
Okay. Good afternoon, those in the studio advocating for school resumption in the studio there. They're living in ground zero. Everybody in the studio here is coming. Tilaris is coming from the southwest region, even you. Mohammed is coming from...
Very frequent in the northwest region.
Mohammed is coming from Kumba. Fabrice is coming from Yaoundé. And is always on ground to get, he's a politician who is always on ground to get first-hand information and the temperature of what is happening out there. Good afternoon to those in advocating for school in the studio. KC. How can one in its normal sense say the government is giving subsidies to schools, so we should profit from it and go to school? We all love school, but the situation at hand is not conducive. It would cost the government nothing to call for an inclusive dialogue instead of creating commissions up and down. This is Takang Franklin writing from Yaoundé, Cameroon's political capital. This one says, Mr. Ayuk from Swekom Bonaberi. He says, I am very impressed about this topic today, but what I have to say is when there is an innocent blood on the ground, it cries for more blood. So only the mercy of God to help. Okay, thank you, Ayuk. For the message, this one says, hi to you all. Let's call it spade a spade. How can we call for school resumption when we all know that the environment is still very tense? The government know what to do, so let them do it. Ismaila Umaru, writing from Yaoundé. I was a teacher in Tole until 2016. Schools can only resume if the government understands that it is not by martial might, but reasonable, realistic, and humble dialogue can schools resume. Trust me, I know firsthand what's on the ground. Good afternoon to you. Okay, thank you to you, also the teacher from Tole. Good morning to you all. The program is good. Keep up. God bless you. Boris is writing from Yaoundé. Lots of viewers from Yaoundé this today. Great topic there. My take is for a conducive environment for school, but Anglophones have never been illiterates, and all they need is peace, and no one will even need to crusade for school resumption. Let the government do the right thing. Joshua is writing from Yaoundé. This is Ako from Widikum. The young man, okay. say, please tell us, we are not afraid of the Amber Boys, but we are afraid of the police officers. They are doing more harm than good. The soldiers tend to kill all boys who are becoming men, like a friend of mine who was in opposite place. Okay, lots of messages from diverse. Tilarus Atia, can we get from the bishop a desperate cry, a cry out of frustration, a cry from a father who is exhausted of seeing the people, the children suffer over the years and years without a possibility of school resumption or an end to the conflict in the next months?
Yeah, it's frustrating for somebody like him who lives in Kumbo, who sees it, who may go to church and not have Christians to preach to, whose work is to minister to those who are in need, those who are in pain, the forgotten in society, those whose voices are not being heard. And he has seen many of such cases, and he lives with them, and he feels their pain. And because everybody fears to talk, like he said, that as he has spoken like that, he doesn't know if he'll be the next to be kidnapped, to be killed, but that he should not be quoted out of context. He should be quoted rightly. And he has spoken in the minds of the people. I pray that somebody somewhere is listening. And to say that we still have time on our side before schools resume, to see how we can facilitate the dialogue. The Prime Minister was in the Northwest and Southwest in May of this year, and he said the head of state is willing and ready to have dialogue going. And it's 3 months already, and nothing is seen on the ground. I think that if this the dialogue at home or the one that the Swiss are trying to facilitate could hit the ground running, then we could have some concessions that will permit schools to resume without us having a fear of putting soldiers behind the learners, of asking for security to be provided for schools, because both parties should agree on the basics, on what we should have ahead of school resumption, on the things that they should agree on before the dialogue, because we agree that the dialogue is going to take time. Dialogue or negotiation or whatever discussions is not going to yield fruits today. But then the basics, we should have the basics, some agreement that schools should be out of every other thing, the hospitals, markets, houses of worship. And if we have all of these guarantees, I'm sure we will not have the fears. Government should facilitate the dialogue. They should start the dialogue. They should get whoever is supposed to be on the dialogue table, so that we can have guarantees for schools to resume. It's really painful that I go to school and then I cannot have the other children go to school. It's like being selfish, because our right to education was never stopped. And Leo, I was really worried yesterday when the UN resident coordinator for humanitarian affairs, Allegra Baochi, said the UN cannot solve the problems in Cameroon. That it is Cameroonians who have to solve the problems. It is the people in Cameroon who can find solutions to the problems in Cameroon. So we should not delay, because whether we fight for 100 years, we have to sit at table to find a solution to the problems. And so if you can find the solutions today and postpone the bloodshed, because like the bishop said, there's no cause genuine. There's no cause so genuine, Leo, to take somebody's life.
If a solution has to be sought for so that children can effectively go back to school, who has that responsibility to ensuring that a solution is?
Both parties. Because there's need to show good faith.
Do they have
same responsibilities? They have the same responsibilities, because those who are fighting on either side say they are protecting the interests of the population. And so if these two people have the interests of the population at heart, like they say they do, then they should be able to take measures to sit at table and discuss and ensure that the masses whose interests they want to protect feel better, live better, and live happy.
Okay. Good morning, good debate going on. Thumbs up to the guy in blue suit. Take it from him or you leave it. The importance of education is on those who need it. Those who say schools should not go on are the Amber Boys. Let them be schooled. That education is a fundamental human right, and let them allow schools. Why they have become mute on lawyers. The issue on school resumption should have nothing to do with the releasing of people or dialogue or whatever. Schools should go on without any precondition. Eswa is writing from Limbe. Good afternoon. in the studio, please, we should take more about serving the world, not about school resumption, because you can't study under such conditions. Delaware is writing from Japan. Okay. Good afternoon. I am Tanjong in Boya. Anglophones don't need schools now, but peace first. And all other things will follow automatically. Good afternoon to you all in the studio. Good afternoon. Now, when the bishop spoke out, it is true that the bishops have been speaking since this war started. Do you think that there are many other persons who would love to be given the platform to air out their frustrations and anger the way the bishop did? And should it just end at making such declarations?
It depends on individuals, because I think that is, first of all, it should be a challenge for every Cameroonian, irrespective of the institution you are representing, to stand up for Cameroon at this moment. Because this is a moment where if you stay silent, then you are compromising with evil, and you have to stand up and speak against evil in order to come out of the crisis. And I think that the precondition for school resumption should be a point, should be an objective of the dialogue that people have been clamoring for. Because if the government had shown good faith as the government that is supposed to be, school resumption should be an objective of the dialogue process. Sending government representatives who do not have following of the people in a particular place is problematic. Even if the people have following, do they represent the people? Because there's a difference between having following and representing people. And then the government should follow the dialogue in such a way that all parties are represented, whether it is a commission that is formed or it is a national reconciliation forum that is being formed. Let all factions be represented. And I want to recall here that the issue of school resumption in Northwest and Southwest is coupled with multiple other crises that the government is unable to solve. Because we also have post-electoral crisis, which is still a challenge to the government.
But today we are talking. We
have so many other issues that is a challenge to the government, which means that if the government is a government of good faith and have Cameroonians at heart, especially Cameroonians of the Northwest and Southwest region, dialogue should be already taking place, and they should send people to meet those people in the diaspora. They should send people to meet the moderates within the country. We have the Justice Ayers, we have the Madam Kawalas, we have other leaders, religious leaders, Cardinal Tumi. Those are people that government officials are supposed to, first of all, apologize to them for having not listened to them before. Because I think Justice Aya, Cardinal Tumi, Madam Kawala, those people proposed very simple.
Why are you sidelining other people?
No, I'm just proposing those that I master what they pronounce. I cannot
those
propose.
Who are close to you.
Yes, I propose.
I'm sure Mr. Mohammed will not be very happy.
Not that he will not be very happy.
And the SDF
I have been following what John Fundi has been doing.
And not what the MPs did at the
I've been following what the other people have been doing. I am talking of people that
you know so
if
much.
the government will have go close to them and use them in order to solve the crisis or create that. Because when I talk on national dialogue, those people who are moderate or federalists are some part that the government needs to target. The secessionists who have their own different blocks, because even among the secessionists there are different groups. The government needs to send emissaries to all of them. Meanwhile, Cameroonians who are the unionists working with the government, they also need to concert themselves. When all these different factions concert themselves, they come now with a common resolution and now define certain things that could be.
Let me take one.
Let me just land.
Okay.
Define certain things that could be sanctuary, untouchable things like education, like humanitarians, like the hospitals that we are talking about. But when they go campaigning on issues without even, it's as if those people who are fighting or giving their own reasons for what they don't want, it doesn't make sense to them.
Okay.
We can't just relegate people to the background like that.
Okay, yes, the man in red, seems to be thinking that for our children to go to school is their responsibility and beneficial to the government. And at this juncture? Absolutely not. If our students remain uneducated because of the struggle, we should beware that we are creating a vicious cycle and creating room for more chaos, whereby the children of the ringleaders will be wanting to rule children of those whose blood was spilled for the struggle, creating more anarchy with such scenario. The secret to back to school is not securing schools with soldiers, but educating the Amber Boys why it will be more beneficial to the struggle if the children are allowed to acquire knowledge. If the leaders in the diaspora are not manipulating us and are serious, they should remove their children from schools in the US and Europe so that we all can continue the struggle with uneducated children. Ambalo Pascal writing from Boya. Okay. Say, Mr. Moderator, I hail your objectivity in the program. Highly professional and unbiased. Thank you, my brother from Boya. Good afternoon, members of the panel. Education is the backbone of every society. The English and the French systems of education are two independent systems. Let the government allow Anglophones to draw up a new curriculum different from what the term harmonization with the French system dominating. Where in the world have we heard of harmonization of education? Even in Canada, which is a bilingual country like us, has two separate educational systems. When that is done, there should be ceasefire, frank dialogue, and the doors of the schools will be open, and bells will be ringing, and honest, moral, and intelligent English-speaking Cameroonians will emerge for a better Cameroon. Ba is writing from Yaoundé. Hi, I'm reading this from Kumba. When we talk of school resumption, does it involve those children in the bushes that their houses have been burnt down? Or we are talking about the ones who are opportune to go to school? I'm sure we are talking about everybody. Hi to you guys in the studio. The governor went to the division to preach back to school, but came in heavy security and in armored cars and gun-proofs. What of the local population? Will they be given gun-proof and armored cars for security? Mbab Marvin is writing from Kumba, the Green City. This one says, this is for Cynthia, writing from Boya, says, kudos to you all in the studio. I'm enjoying the program. Special greetings to Mr. Atia. My best school is JHS Womb. Thanks, Cynthia. Okay, your message is recorded. Now, lots of messages, okay. What should the bishop move on from?
No, the point is that we are bound to disagree to agree.
Yes, but my question to you is, the bishop has made a declaration. Should other religious leaders do same, and apart from just making those declarations, what else should they do?
You see, the bishop first is making declaration because his area is hard hit, especially his parishes.
Yeah.
The bishop of Kumbo that day, he was kidnapped for 24 hours before he was left.
The bishop of Bamenda.
Bamenda.
Yeah.
So the Catholic Church has felt the impact of this struggle from their bishop, from their priest, and even from their church goers. They have all suffered this thing. So the bishop is supposed to come out in strong tone, with strong voice, to condemn what is going on. But that does not mean that other religious organizations, look at the Cleda here, Cleda and Douala, he has spoken about this thing several times. And even he has even resisted death threats because of his outspokenness. So what I'm saying is that every concerned Cameroonian is supposed to speak on this, whether francophone or anglophone. In fact, our francophone colleagues are even good people. In fact, they have displayed national unity and national integration. If it had been they drove away all those our brothers who ran from the southwest, came to Douala, came to Banga, Lung, Benja, to drive them back home, it's going to be disastrous. It shows that national unity in a peaceful coexistence, living together, is still there. It's still there. So I think every right-thinking Cameroonian who want to see the unity of this country has to come out and speak in stronger terms, so that at least the government should hear and send children to school. The big brother attitude of government, the pride of government should be brought down. Exactly. Government should come down and ready to talk to these guys.
It's too arrogant.
That's it. But the adamant position the government has taken that they are the big guys, they are the big brothers, and nobody can dictate to them. And the irony of all these things, is only one person who has the knife and the yam. The president of the republic. He's the one who has the knife and the yam to talk this thing. Nobody has the competence, the audacity, the authority to talk about this thing, even not the president of the republic. So he was the yam and he was the knife and the yam. So all what we are saying, we are just beating about the bush. It's until on the day that he will speak that this thing will come to an end.
Okay. Hello, panelists. I think the only reason the secessionists are clamoring for no school is because that is the only thing that makes the government of know that Anglophones have a problem. That's why they are only concerned about school resumption. Once school resume, trust me, there is no way the Anglophones are going to be heard again. Abaka Mountai, MD Abak's group. Oh, you did not tell me where you are writing from. Greetings to you all in the studio. The government should first of all think about students that their parents have been killed, who will educate them. Platini is writing from Bamenda. Good day to you all in the studio. Conditions are not favorable for school resumption. Even if the government provides armored cars for each child, it will not work. Dobgima Roland is writing from Bunaberi here in Douala. Kotek Bafu Daisy is my best school. Desmond, okay. Peter and Sue writing from Boya. Dialogue is the best measure to use for the resumption of schools. Force cannot bring the resumption of schools, but dialogue, because a man convinced out of his own will is of the same opinion still. We should not only discuss how schools will resume without saying what strategy to use for the school resumption, because with dialogue we will be the one to send our children to school. No one can go to acquire knowledge in the presence of the military. Tilaris Atia, what should follow the outing of the bishop to make sure that, because we are talking only about back to school, but the bishop talked about extortion, kidnappings, killings, and a host of other things, saying that the people of Congo are actually suffering. Yes,
if we were to look at the DR Congo example, where the church has been able to broker peace between the warring factions, the church has been able to stamp its authority. I think it's possible in Cameroon. It's possible for the church to unite itself. For the church, because like I said, there's no struggle that is so big that should warrant the bloodshed, the loss of lives, and all the kind of things, the violence we've seen in the recent past. I think that the church should unite itself. The Bishop of Kumbo should lobby his peers, his colleagues in the country, because what is happening is a Cameroonian problem. They unite themselves. All those who are riding high horses, be they ministers or activists, most of them are Christians. They are faithful. They are either Muslims or Christians or they believe in something, in some God, some supreme being. And all of these religious leaders had come under the Anglophone General Conference. If all of these bishops could be part of it, could buy this idea and see how they could agree on a common position, meet government, engage dialogue as soon as possible so that we can have a cessation of violence. What I'm saying is that violence has to stop. And whichever way the church can be of help, they should start doing it now. They should get to work. They should not wait for somebody to be kidnapped so they can come and start denouncing, or for somebody to be killed and they come and start denouncing, or civilians to be killed and all of those things. They should get to work. I'm sure they've waited for too long. They've been in the code for too long. They should get active. They should become active partners. They should become actors in the conflict, in the resolution of the conflict, and see how they can get government to start talking, how they can engage the other part of the belligerents to start talking, to see reason. We saw the Bishop of Manfe praying and blessing one of the activists in the United States. I don't know what they discussed, but then it was important for the bishop to see how they can convince these people, to talk to them, to see how we can stop the violence, the killing and all of that. Whether it is a soldier who is being killed, or it's an armor boy who is being killed, it's a bad thing to take away lives. We don't give life. We cannot create a human being. So we should not take the life of some other person. So the bishops and the church, they should see how they can get to the Kadinatumi initiative, adhere to it, get government. Most of them are faithful, either Muslims or Christians. They can talk to their Christian, talk to their faithful, and see how we can have a solution to this crisis. Government has a lot of work to do when the dialogue would have started, when the peace process will be on, to reconstruct some of these schools, to reconstruct the burnt villages, reconstruct the hospitals that would have been destroyed and every other facility, and see how they can bring development to this part of the country. Because we cannot develop when a portion of the country cannot develop, or the country cannot be seen as a developed country when there are portions of it that are not developed. Because development for the country has to be holistic, and it's only when there's peace that we can start having some of these amenities.
Okay.
We can start having the things that will make us feel like humans.
We are going to say a word for each for the topic that we're supposed to discuss, because we started late and we have recorded by time. We understand what is happening in Yaoundé and other parts of the country. I'm talking about the energy crisis. There are no lights in Yaoundé. Most parts of Douala is common. In Bamenda, they went for 2 weeks. In Kumba also, there was a time, Mr. Mohammed, that Kumba went without light for a very long time.
It's true.
So what is fundamentally wrong with Cameroon and the energy crisis?
Yeah.
It's something that cuts across the continent.
Yeah, it is. It all emanates from bad governance. Yeah, I think the inability of Cameroonians to have electricity emanates from bad governance, because the present regime has failed to deliver public and merry goods to Cameroonians for decades now. And I think that, like my senior co-panelist said, the person who is supposed to be held responsible for all this is the president, because the constitution gives him a lot of power. The present constitution gives him a lot of power, and as a president, there is a time when you need to address your people, you need to talk to the people, you need to carry out actions. But if he's unable to do that, there is a problem, because most of the things that we discuss as solutions, I think they hear those things. There are ministers here, because when you discuss with some of these high-profile personalities in Yaoundé, they say it is at the level of the presidency. It goes and ends there. Nothing is done. People are being killed. So I think that the president himself should call to his conscience. There is a time when you need to rethink, to call upon your own conscience and say, but I need to take action for my people.
Okay.
So if the president is unable to carry out any action as of now, he should better resign.
He should resign. Yes.
The problem of light.
Light and water across Cameroon.
The problem of light water, let me take you back a bit. You see, when the government went to the IMA to look for loan, they give them conditionalities.
Okay.
And one of the conditionalities was privatization and commercialization of public parastatals.
Yeah.
And the government now embark on privatization. And they privatize these public utilities.
We now have a new, and we had Kamwata. Yes.
Now Kamwata. Now the problem is that, and the reason for privatization was that the IMF is telling the government that there's going to be efficient and effective services, and the people should pay for those services. That is the raison d'etre. That they will be effective and efficient services, and they should pay for those services. Now, that is what I mean. But if you come to the practical implementation, it is not there.
Okay, why?
Why? Because one, the Inyo guys are using obsolete pipes and obsolete electricity wires, especially the pipe-borne waters. Look at Yaoundé, for example. Look at the demographic of Yaoundé. Look at the topography of Yaoundé. These pipes are outdated. Instead to enlarge them and bring new pipes, they are not bringing. They are still maintaining old pipes. That is one. Number two, supervision is not there. Nobody is there to do correct supervision. Everybody is a laissez-faire attitude. And again, they pay the money they pay those people for the work. They don't even the contractors that they are subtract contracts to them. What they do is that they don't even do the job. They don't even go to look at the job. All what they need at the end of the day, they go and collect their dough. They go and collect their money. So and coupled with corruption again, there's a lot of corruption surrounding the whole thing. So that patriotism is not there. And as long as that patriotism is not there, we are doomed to fail. It's a wasted effort. It's an effort of futility, and it's a non-starter.
Okay. Non-starter Henry from Kumba say the most important thing of the English people is education. I promise you, if there is peace today, the classroom will be full tomorrow without asking parents or students to go back to school. Good afternoon to the crew of Prime and Media Prime. In fact, the Anglo-Saxon system of education, which was the pride of the English-speaking Cameroonian, is completely distorted as we speak. I have come across more than 10 successful students of the GC Advanced Level 2019 who dropped history as a subject in Form 2, proceeded to have GCE level without history, but wrote GC advanced level in lower seats and had D grades in history. Chai. Okay, we have to verify that information also. Good day, sir. I want to say your program is very educative. A big shout out to Mr. Atia for encouraging school resumption because it's a fundamental right. So the so-called separatists should be ashamed for holding the futures of children down. What has school got to do with independence? Mr. Johnson is writing from Moliko in Boya. Okay, got that one already. People say schools are going on, but for 3 years I haven't seen any child with uniform that do the right thing. Okay, this person is writing from Kumba. This is Julius in Douala. How do we want schools to resume when we have many children in the forest? How will those children in the bushes go to school when their homes have been razed down to ashes? We need sincere dialogue. Okay. Happy Sunday to everyone in the studio. How do we go to school when the military barracks everywhere? This is BJ writing from Limbe. Good day to you in the studio. I'm Chabi Samson writing from Yaoundé. I just think everything about school campaign is a noise-making issue. How can you trust someone preaching school resumption, but he who had movements still tell us the atmosphere is not secure? You can hold food and a cane and call a dog, expecting the dog to come, seeing the cane. Okay, thank you. Hi, it's Katolo. Many bishops are kidnapped because they are saying the truth. Hi, my best school is GSS Cook. Thank you. Good day to you all in the studio. My best school is GHS Besali Wabane. Fonkem Patrick is writing from Limbe. Okay, that message is there. I'm enjoying the discussions, but the fundamental question is, how can they send them back when they know they will profit from it? My best school is Kumba. Tuopufo James from Kumba. I listened a while ago when you said the UN says they can not solve the problem. It is we who have to solve the problem. This is a plane. Okay, it is a trick, just like they sent us into slavery using plebiscite. So this statement is to discourage the people. They are ashamed of the trick they played. Greetings to you guys. The education is good, but there must be a ceasefire. Joseph is writing from Yaoundé. Tilaris Atia. He raised the issue of privatization. It was privatized so that we get better services. He raised the issue of over-centralization of power in the hands of the President of the Republic. We hear of investment in the energy and water sector every day in Cameroon, yet the problems are unending.
Yes, the problems are unending. I think that our country is old. The infrastructure in the country is old as our leadership. It was not long, I think the Zeka train derailment was as a result of a bad road network when the culvert collapsed at Matom. And I think that the maintenance culture in the country needs to be given another touch, another look. There's need to, for the maintenance of the structures we have in this country to even be institutionalized. Parliament should sit and see how to pass a legislation that provides and encourages maintenance. Because I don't understand why the roads in the country are left to dilapidate to the point where the flood waters can sweep them away. And then we have the kind of disaster we had, the Zeka disaster. And nobody is doing anything. Nobody is sitting up. We have the scenario at the oil refinery. Nobody has known what really caused it. But it may be because the maintenance was not being followed up to be sure that something like this could happen and they preempt some of those things. I think the roads, the structures, the public buildings, they're not maintained. We have a scenario where the 20 May Boulevard in Yaoundé, for example, is only renovated because the head of state is going to come there. That we have, there are some structures, some environments that are given a facelift because the head of state is going to visit. So I think that if the head of state has the time, he should start visiting every state structure in this country. So that way, those who are starting the money that is supposed to be used normally to take care of these things, and they are keeping it. When he says that he's going to that place, they are going to pay attention to some of these things. Because it will appear that the country is centered all around the head of state, which is not correct. And the corrupt nature of our MPs in particular, because members of parliament are supposed to check government action, the action of ministers, how ministers are ensuring the smooth function of the country. If the ministers were grilling the minister of, if the MPs were able to grill the minister of energy and water resources, because most of these things are happening in the sector. The issue of Sonora is in the sector. The issue of power outages in Douala, the lack of water in the country is in the Ministry of Energy and Water Resources. So what is happening in that ministry? Why can Parliament not probe to find out what is not going on right, what is lacking, what is the follow-up, why are things not done right? But because most of these MPs are the ones who take contracts, they are either subcontractors or contractors themselves. They are the ones who go and lobby on behalf of other companies. They go to ministers, they beg contracts, they collect kickbacks and all of those things. They don't have the moral authority to question, to check the action of these members of government. And it is a very worrying situation, especially when we have even Parliament congratulating cabinet ministers. In which country in the world does it occur that members of Parliament who are supposed to be checking government action will be in a session in Parliament be congratulating ministers? Because they have done something right today, you are not sure they'll do it right tomorrow. So they have to be constantly under pressure to ensure that they deliver, because ministers don't have a mandate from the people. They are not elected by the masses. The mandate they have is the one that is derived from the head of state. The mandate MPs have is derived from the people. So they should be able to represent our interests. They should be able to. Parliament has never reacted. That Yaoundé is in dark. People are rationing electricity. People are suffering, and Parliament is quiet. That the masses, the people that we are supposed to represent, nothing is being done. And the electricity, all this Menkim and all those Menvele and all of those things, is not something for today. It's not something for today. The energy and all of this things is going to take time. And before it even comes, we are not sure that we'll be alive. I'm not sure the environment near the hydro power station in the day and all of those things that go in darkness.
Okay. We are very briefly. Okay. 1 second, please.
Yes, I really wanted to say that the public sector management in Cameroon is really poor. It's really bad, and therefore we really need a change. That change should be from the top.
Okay.
Yes.
We want to say that we are very, very grateful to you guys for the great job. Good morning to the panel. Going to school is very important, but how parents can send their children to school when the schools are burnt, their houses are burnt, other lives in the forest, gun shooting, both ambas and the military. Paul is writing, not telling us where you are writing from. Paul, hi, good afternoon. Trap King from Kumba. The government have to see how to help people, because what about the people who have lost their parents who would send them to school? And we also suffer of light problem, I'm sure. That's a topic for a different. I crave your indulgence to come again, but this time with a question: which one of you there in the studio would allow, if there was means, that all the education he has acquired be taken back in order to support the struggle, so that after it he can now start the process of learning all over? Is there anyone? Surely none. Therefore join forces and let schools go on. I'm sure that question was directed to you. And greetings to you guys at the panel. I am a teacher and a family head with many children. How will I send my children to school and even go to teach when the military will not be there to protect me and my children from the house to school and back? All the CPDM camouflage will not help. Let the government call for ceasefire and we will go to school without any campaign. I'm Eugene from the famous Livanda village. Wow. Livanda made news last week through the traditional ruler who requested an apology from the chairman of the SDF party. I don't know whether that was submitted. Okay. Mr. Mohammed Suleiman, all the way from Kumba, the Green City. We are glad you are part of the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
We hope you are going to have a safe journey back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We shall be coming here as soon as the situation demands. We shall be here.
Okay.
Yes.
Tilaris Atia, Kamasech Boya branch president, a man with many titles, all the way from Boya, Southwest Regional Capital. We thank you. You were part of the program.
Thank you, Leo. And I pray that we are going to negotiate our way out of the problems that we have. And that those who are saying that government should call for a ceasefire, it will mean that government wants to decree peace. That's not possible. Government has to engage the other party into fruitful dialogues, fruitful discussions that will yield resolutions that both parties are going to implement on the ground.
Okay. We equally are grateful to you, Fabrice Leonard, who came all the way from Yaoundé,
Yes.
the Director of Communications for the Popular Action Party. We are glad you came for this edition.
Thank you very much. I'm most grateful. If I must say anything last, I would say that we need to revisit the 1961 Constitution in order to negotiate, wherein if we agree, we can continue to live. If we don't, then we go our separate ways.
I'm sure that was not a topic for today. I want to thank you all who took time to follow us on social media and in your respective homes, and to the production team, Desmond. Thank you, Frank, Jerry, and to you, Eli, and to you, Tabi Tambe, Brian, who is supervising all we are doing out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
La musique comme jamais sur votre télévision. My Music TV.